and today I will be reading to you from Stars and Moonflowers in Our Garden by RainbowStar_772. That's me! Now, on to Chapter 40, Theories and Harsh Realities. America walked back to the flowers, quickly and quietly. He was thankful for Russia having stopped Argentina from getting to him, but he couldn't stand to be the reason that the other lost more sleep. Because, unlike himself, sleep was a necessity for Russia. Soon enough, he was back at the camomiles. He placed the letter down beside himself before he started to tend to the camomiles. Once he was done, he grabbed the letter from beside himself and gently opened it. Dear Aku, aw, darn. Well, I'm closer to meeting you. The closer I get, the more anxious and excited I get. I'm excited, but I'm worried that you may not like me when you find out who I am. Also, I love the crow. Doesn't he call Prince Russia Papa? Metaphors are always fun, so I'm glad you like them. Well, I'm pretty sure if they flirt with you, it means you have a chance. If not, I don't know what it means. Anatoly is a good cat most of the time. He's very cuddly and is adorable. Also, I have no idea what the effects of opium poppies other than pain relief, but based on context, I would hazard to say it's not a good thing. Also, I think that's really cool. I've only ever heard of magic being sealed away on an individual basis, never an entire race. That's very interesting, and I would love to hear more about it eventually. I'm glad you're more comfortable here. I'm glad you settled here. I personally think your eyes are cute, and I will never understand why they were made fun of. And that sounds like an interesting theory. Maybe we can look into it when we meet up. Well, my guesses are wolf of some kind, canine, or possibly deer. Am I close or not? Sincerely, Neeks. America smiled a little bit as he read through the first part of the letter, glad that Neeks was also excited to meet him. But he hoped he could ease his anxiety on it as well. Then he sighed, disappointed at how quickly the news of Samuel calling Russia Papa had spread, but he supposed that was bound to happen, as Italy had yelled about it. Though he was glad to hear that Neeks also liked metaphors, as they both found them fun to use. He sighed a little, finding Neeks a little naive in thinking that flirting usually meant that someone would have a chance. He may just be cynical, but it did not mean that most of the time for him. People had done it as a joke, a dare, or simply just to show him how no one could love him with eyes like his. He was likely just cynical in this particular case. Neeks probably had better experiences with flirting, and probably knew what it should have meant to him. He wished he could have grown up here. People didn't actually mind his eyes here. They just saw them, shrugged, and moved on with their days. He'd even had a few people say something like, "Ooh, you have pretty eyes like my grandma." Or, "Oh, cool, you have cool eyes like my friend." He smiled a little to himself as he read about what Neeks knew of magic being sealed away. He'd have to tell him more about what he knew later. Maybe they could look into it after they met. It'd be something they'd both hopefully enjoy. Sadly, unlike Neeks, he knew well that people didn't like his eyes, and why they proclaimed that they didn't like them. He'd been called many things in his earlier years traveling with his parents. They'd called him things like demon, freak, monster, lost face, shame, disgrace, ignominy, embarrassment, mistake, blemish on existence, antichrist, that thing, howling fantod, abomination, delayed abortion, curse to this world, blasphemy against nature, and many other degrading and dehumanizing things. He was glad that Neeks found the theory interesting and felt excited to look into it with him when they met up. He found himself laughing a little as he read the guesses. It was a good-natured laugh, as those were far off from what he was, though he was disappointed that he hadn't gotten it, as he was excited to meet up with Neeks. Once he had finished reading the letter from Neeks, he gently folded it and put it in his messenger bag. After that, he smiled to himself and continued to garden. As he did, he found himself lost in thought. Nothing too important crossing his mind, other than that Ukraine, one of the royals, had started sneezing earlier that day. It was probably nothing. She, one of her siblings, or her father, would come to him if something came up. Though, he ought to make sure that she got a good night's rest, just in case she'd caught something. He ought to check that before he went back to his room for the night. But before he finished gardening, it started raining, which was nice, though he didn't have an umbrella, so he moved a lot quicker to get the gardening done. He didn't feel like getting sick. Eventually, he finished his gardening and quietly and quickly dropped by the room next to Russia's, hearing the sound of someone sleeping peacefully inside. He smiled a little and moved on, heading back towards his own room after that. Once he made it to his room, he settled down and took out the letter from his messenger bag. He took out his inkwell and quill. He opened the inkwell and took out some of the paper as he began to write. He reread the letter again before he began responding, wanting to appropriately address everything Neeks had said. Once he was done with his response, he set it aside to dry and took out an envelope, writing the usual "From Aku to Neeks" on it. He hoped that Neeks would guess correctly soon, as although it may be a little selfish, he wanted to talk to him in person and hang out with him. When he was done writing his response, he made damn well sure he wasn't being pushy about that. He wanted Neeks to see him on his own terms. Regardless of when he got to meet Neeks, he was glad to have met him and had the chance to talk to him. And that's the end of this chapter. I hope you enjoyed. Anyway, I'd like to invite you to join the Discord, which is linked down in the description below. That being said, I hope you have a nice rest of your day, night, or whatever it is for you. Just enjoy your time. And I will see you tomorrow!